So my son recently walked out of his classroom during a U.S. history video that actually referred to the plains in North America as a wasteland infested with hostile Indians. And when I complained about the racist portrayal of Indians to the teacher, he assured me that he would be including all of the ugly history of the broken treaties of Manifest Destiny. And that made me realize something, that we are still perpetuating in 2020 that same old broken record of an American Indian meta-narrative. It persists in 2020. And that is bothersome. So for those of you who might not know what I mean by the meta-narrative, it's the singular American Indian story that begins with Columbus and ends with the Trail of Tears. Our history is defined through the lens of European conquest and American manifest destiny. Indians become the embodiment of the tragically romantic end of the trail. Victims that ride, or in this case, slump into the sunset. Why? The answer is simple: because most American schools end American Indian history at Manifest Destiny. We become extinct. We disappear. We are consigned to the singular stereotypical pan-Indian of 1830, that Plains Indian with the feathers and the buckskin, and nothing else. It's a convenient narrative that allows school districts across the nation to check the culturally responsive curriculum box. And everyone else is allowed to move forward, except tribal people. Dr. Shane Doyle, he said to me, and I made him repeat it so that I could write it down. He said that the meta-narrative is easily consumable and fits within the framework of a history that is less complex than it should be. And so one of the weaknesses of history is that it's not complex enough. In denying that complexity, teachers deny, and more importantly, they teach children to deny any possibility of evolving from that primordial ooze of the Indian meta-narrative into the multifaceted, complex reality of contemporary Indian identities. Teachers keep playing that same old record. But here's the thing: when we Indians refuse to dance to that record, and we do refuse, otherwise I wouldn't be here, we become the 21st century Indian problem. The first Indian problem was that we existed at all on this continent. The present Indian problem is that we refuse to exist as history has defined us, as education has defined us. Dr. Doyle goes on to say that when we accept one perspective and when we canonize it, we assume that we know everything we need to know about history. We also assume that we have everything we need to know about the future, and both of those things are impossible. But most teachers, including my son's teacher, believe that they don't do that. They might change it up a little, but we, myself included, I'm a middle school teacher, I play that record or those like it in one way, shape, or form. Teachers do that. So let me do an experiment. I want you to close your eyes. And when I say Native American or American Indian, what are the first images that pop up into your brain? You don't have to say them out loud because nobody's there with you, so don't worry. But if you are a member of the over 50 demographic, your brain likely conjures up images of noble savage Indian, or maybe that tear-stained face of the lone Indian standing along the polluted highway. You remember that? He was an Italian actor, by the way. He was not Native. If you are younger, you might see the docile, wise, old visionary, oblivious to the poverty around him. If you're really fortunate, you might see a Navajo code talker in there somewhere, and you might even see Standing Rock. Either way, the narrative is neatly packaged and all at once dismissive. You do not see the modern savvy people, you see the fantasy, and you let the old record play. Start looking around. The vast majority of photos of American Indians, they remain unnamed, unidentified. Not even in 2016 at Standing Rock. The Guardian ran a story on Standing Rock, and a young Native activist in the photo was only identified as a protester. And in rendering the young man nameless, his own identity was erased. And he is now assigned the identity of the angry Indian. In fact, in this story about Indian activism, Indian power, treaty rights, the only individuals who were actually named in the article were Barack Obama, the governor of North Dakota, and the white politicians and Hollywood actors who came to the rescue of the Standing Rock Sioux. So do you see what I mean about that old record playing? It takes surprisingly subtle forms, but it's still playing. Case in point, in '99, after years of research and court battles, the Makah tribe in Nia Bay in northwestern Washington, where I'm from, they fought to be able to exercise a treaty right that they already had. And that treaty right was to be able to harvest a whale. Except they made the fatal error of using motorboats as support vehicles and a high caliber rifle to humanely take the whale. You see, modern technology does not fit neatly into that pre-packaged pan American Indian meta-narrative. And so they were vilified for it. Just like what's happening now, when how you define the world and how you define the people in it, when those definitions are challenged, that is when the stuff hits the fan. Here's some examples. Paul Watson, director of the militant activists, they call themselves the Sea Shepherds. They said that the Makahs were baby killers. Big, brave Makah warriors killed a baby whale, he taunted. I won't go into the death threats and the ugly racial epithets. You'll need to find those on your own. But suffice it to say that after the Makah did take the whale, it was vile. Jake Conroy of the Sea Defense Alliance said that we're obviously very upset that the Makah went ahead with killing an innocent, sentient creature in such a bloody and untraditional way. Now, how would he know? Rob Van Ginkel, in his journal article, he summed it up this way. In their view, reviving old traditions with the help of modern equipment amounted to cultural bastardization. Whaling skipper Wayne Johnson, he finally said, I am so tired of non-Indians pushing their values on the Makah people and telling us how and how not to be Makah. Ginkel goes on to address Johnson's point with saying that expecting cultures to remain static and cling to traditional methods is both presumptuous, demeaning, and unrealistic. The environmentalist perception is rooted in romantic notions of Indianness. At the heart of the controversies vis-a-vis the Makah whale hunt are the processes of authenticating and discrediting identity. Who gets to control the expression of Makah identity, both its legitimacy and its legality? Who gets to decide what is cultural, traditional, or necessary? I think we all today realize that those decisions rightfully belong to the Makah. But when we as teachers, when we refuse either through stubbornness or a perceived lack of time or ignorance, we are reinforcing those same romantic and savage notions of Indianness. We teach in 2020 that Indians became extinct in 1830. We don't just perpetuate the falsehood, we promote it. And in doing so, we become complicit. And I get it. It's a hard thing for teachers to consider. Many of you are probably still thinking, I took that old record off of the turntable. I took it off years ago. But are you sure? Might you consider the possibility that you are no longer playing the record, but maybe instead you're playing a digitally remastered version of that same tired meta-narrative? I think that we as teachers believe that rejecting the easily consumable and convenience of Houghton Mifflin and McGraw-Hill, that is enough. It isn't. Let's see if this scenario is familiar to you. History teachers tend to acknowledge that history textbooks can be inaccurate, incomplete, and even offensive. And so we go a-hunting. We desperately go a-hunting to find something that does more and says more and is more accurate. And where do we tend to go? You all were thinking Google, because I do the same thing. We can't, though. We can't for the life of us believe that if we go to the big book of Google that we are somehow being culturally responsive. We might feel good. I mean, at least we are doing something. But what about my son? And that's what his teacher thought he was doing. We are not doing good. We are harming Indian children. We are harming non-Indian children. As teachers, we cannot stop our tribal history lessons at 1830, okay, or even 1970. We cannot teach the history of some faraway tribe and ignore the history of those tribes closest to us. I know I'm going to mix metaphors here, but we feed that monster of a meta-narrative when we do that. That scratched and warped record, it negates American Indian present and makes an American Indian future impossible for others to see. Indians are denied the opportunity to evolve. They are denied the permission to evolve. In Washington State, the meta-narrative ignores important people like Ramona Bennett and Billy Frank Jr. The Indian meta-narrative ignores that the Puyallup tribe is a leader in cancer treatment. Not just Indian cancer, cancer. The Yakama Nation is an internet provider and operates its own electrical power plant, for God's sake. Washington tribes employ more people than Safeway, than Albertsons, than Costco, than Walmart, even Starbucks. Our tribes own golf courses, hotels, resorts, conference centers, White River Amphitheater, entire forests, part of the Port of Tacoma. 70% of those employed by tribes are non-Indian. Tribal-related economic activity yielded $5.3 billion in gross state product. And that was in 2017, I think. The Suquamish tribe, they host something called Sovereign Style. It's a fashion show for native designers like Danielle Morissette, and she summed it up for me. And I want you to remember this. She said that her work represents the contemporary expression of hundreds of years of tradition. I'm going to say it again. The contemporary expression of hundreds of years of tradition. Now, how is that for turning that meta-narrative up on its head? The Indian meta-narrative just does not allow us to evolve. But I do have some news. I'm not done yet. While no one was watching, American Indians evolved anyway. Good people have been doing good work. And to challenge the meta-narrative, there's a formula that I'm going to share with you. It's not a difficult formula, but it can be really hard. Step 1, stop Googling about Indians. Period. No more. No Bing. No Yahoo, if anyone even uses Yahoo anymore. Stop. Step 2, educate yourself about your own assumptions. Give the record that you're playing in your head, give it a name. Identify those stereotypes that you still have about American Indians. And then ask yourself the tougher question. What kind of record am I playing in my classroom? If those things are too hard, I get it. You can move on to step 3, but don't forget to do steps 1 and 2 when you are ready. Step 3 is to educate yourself about what you think you know about American Indian history. Your first stop should be going to the website of the National Museum of the American Indian. This is where the new records are coming from. And those new records come with liner notes called Native Knowledge 360. Go to tribal websites. Go to tribal museums. Yes, tribes have websites. I told a student, yep, we even have cable. Go to amazing places. There's this one place that you need to go to. It's called illuminatives.org. They give you a freaking toolkit on how to change the meta-narrative as teachers, as an educational institution, as consumers of pop culture. Go to Matika Wilbur's Project 562. Go to the Muckleshoot Food Sovereignty Project. And I know you're thinking, food sovereignty, what is that about? Please don't Google it. Please go to the Muckleshoot Indian Tribes website. Know the original place names in your area. Don't play that same record that perpetuates the idiotic notion that our major mountains were discovered by the white men who bear their names. The names of Mount Rainier, Mount Baker, St. Helens, and Adams, those are colonized names. Their names have been for millennia: Tahoma, Coma Colshan, Luwit, Pato. Those names deserve respect. Read the news. Read your local tribal newspaper. Yes, we have tribal newspapers. And please seek out national tribal news organizations. Step 4, know and acknowledge Native present and Native future in your own backyard. Know your local tribal heroes. My current hero crush is Rosalie Fish. She's a citizen of the Cowlitz tribe and a former high school track star. In the state track meet last year, she did what Jordan Marie Daniel did in the Boston Marathon. She raced with a red hand painted on her face to represent the missing and murdered Indigenous women who had been silenced by violence. She ran for thousands of women. She ran for my cousin, Stephanie Mendoza. Part of this step is also referring to Indians in the present tense. Take a look at your textbooks. All past tense, all past tense. Yes, they're history books. But when they're talking about, the Plateau natives used to do this, their traditional foods were this, they still are. Please teach that to your students. When you're doing read-alouds of the books, change the tense. You can do an ELA lesson while you're at it, I suppose. Anyway, just like Land O'Lakes got rid of Mia, I think that we're a society that's going in the right direction, moving in the right direction. We are getting rid of Uncle Ben. We are getting rid of Aunt Jemima. We are getting rid of Rastus. And so I think that we are coming along, and I think that the time right now is perfect to bring natives into the 21st century. Because we have evolved. We are gathering our power. We are gathering our strength. And it's time American education caught up. Thank you.